So I'm Mick Corrigan here from Action Coach, and we're here doing a UK business spotlight. And today I've got Rebecca Wheble, and Rebecca is the owner of Silly Goose Digital. So Rebecca, tell us all about Silly Goose Digital. What's it all about?
So Silly Goose Digital is primarily a social media marketing agency. I started it around about 8 months ago now. And it specializes in social media marketing, social media management. But when I started Silly Goose, a lot of from what I'd seen from other people that did social media marketing and social media management was a lot of it was social media in isolation. Now I come from a performance marketing background, so I've got an idea of how the other channels work and how social influences the other channels, and also working with businesses rather than on my own, because a lot of what I do is aligning to their business goals. So whenever we start with a new client, I always ask them, what are your business goals? Do you have any revenue goals by the end of this year? And then we will look at a social media plan, which will kind of influence those business goals, look at those KPIs, key performance indicators, etc., and delve into a plan around about that, but also considering the other channels, like I've mentioned as well.
Sure.
That's
And I
it.
saw on your I saw on your website actually that you take businesses to new heights. What type of businesses are you dealing with?
So when I first started Silly Goose, a lot of what people had told me was to niche down. But a lot of what I've done is following my gut, really. And it didn't feel right for me to niche down. So I come from a background where I work with a lot of B2B businesses. So I've worked with a lot of roofing manufacturing clients, building products, PVC manufacturing, all of that nice, fun stuff that we all love. And that is because I've done that for so long. I didn't feel comfortable moving away from that. But also, I have worked with a lot of B2C clients in the past as well. And I do want to do more of that B2C work because you can sink your teeth into it a little bit more. So both B2B and B2C. I know a lot of people would normally say you need to niche down and do one, but for me, being experienced in both kind of works. A lot of who we work with are SMEs, and people that are just trying to kind of build that social media presence, potentially people that have tried doing social media themselves. They don't have the time to do it, or they're like, why are we not reaching people? Why is it not working? So that's where someone like myself and Silly Goose comes in, is that we kind of help with that, reaching customers, understanding who your customers are, which not only, like I've mentioned before, feeds out into social media, but also what you do from a campaign planning perspective on the other channels as well.
Good, good. And what does the future look like, Rebecca? What are the challenges ahead, and what are the opportunities?
I think the biggest challenge that I found is that marketing is so saturated. So I first started working in marketing over 6 years ago now, and social media marketing in particular was still very, very new. If you think about the platforms that existed 6 years ago, it was basically Facebook and Instagram. There wasn't really TikTok around at all. TikTok wasn't around. Instagram was just starting up. A lot of it was just Facebook. So all of these new platforms are emerging. And because of that, there are a lot more people doing social media marketing and doing this social media management, and doing marketing in general. I've noticed there's a lot of different marketing agencies that are popping up, and freelancers doing social media. And I think that's the biggest challenge for me, is that it's really hard to be seen in a crowded market because there are so many people doing it. But like I've mentioned before, a lot of people that now do social media might just do it in isolation. There are some out there that do it multi-channel like I do. But that is kind of the difference that we as Silly Goose deliver, is that we don't just deliver social media marketing and that's it. It is the overall channel perspective. And hopefully that's enough to puncture the market. So for now, that's probably the biggest challenge that I've found. Going forward, I would love to be able to build a team. I do see this scaling. I would love to be able to not just offer social media, but like I've mentioned, because the other channels are so important, to be able to scale and have a team of people who work within SEO, people that work within PPC, and being able to deliver that full service offering is definitely something that I want to scale up and achieve as well.
Brilliant. Great to see that. And what have you learnt along the way?
One, follow your gut, which I know I've mentioned before. And I think it's like really simple advice. But when you deep it and you actually think about it and you think, did I make this decision because I followed my gut, or did I make this decision because I followed my head? And sometimes your head is right, but I feel like when you've got a feeling, you have a feeling. And an example of this is over the past couple of weeks, I've been working on kind of redefining my service offering, because what I thought my business was when I first started 8 months ago definitely isn't what I think it is now. There are still a lot of those aspects in there that I thought of 8 months ago that still very much exist in who Silly Goose is now. But I think redefining that service offering is definitely something that I've looked at. And because of it, that is how my business has changed over time as well, is that it is always going to keep changing, and I do believe it is always going to keep changing. And I think that was my biggest advice to myself, was follow your gut and do what you feel is right, and make those business decisions that you feel are the right ones to make, because at the end of the day, I am in control of those business decisions. And I think that's also, it's a very empowering thing, but it's also a very scary thing, because you can get it so very, very right, but you can also get it so very, very wrong as well.
And with the benefit of that hindsight, what might you do differently if you were doing it all again?
This is something that I've actually considered a lot over the past 8 months, because a lot of people come out and say, if I'd start my business again, I'd do XYZ. And I feel like I'm going to do a very unconventional answer and say that I would change nothing. I really wouldn't. Because if I was to change anything, I wouldn't be where I am. If I was to change anything, it wouldn't have taught me the things over time that I have got to today, and that I will get to in another 2 years and in another 4 years. So, like I said, a lot of people might have said, well, maybe I should have thought of redefining my service offering at the start if it wasn't working. But how would I know if it wasn't working if I didn't do that at the beginning? So, honestly, I wouldn't change anything, because this whole time it's led me to where I am. And where I am isn't the end point either. It's going to keep growing in 2 years, 4 years. I'm still going to be learning more stuff. And one thing that I really don't want to be is hard on myself. And I don't want to try and tell myself that I did this wrong, or I did certain things wrong, because I don't think you do anything necessarily wrong. I think it all just ends up being a lesson for the future.
Good for you, Rebecca. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.